I drove to my childhood home a few Christmases ago. I thought it was time to reconnect with my family. As I made my way down those snow-covered roads, I couldn't forget the pale yellow house with its vintage decorations sparkling in the window. The scent of pine filled the air as I stepped inside. Everything felt familiar but strange. I tried to shake the feeling of unease creeping in. My family welcomed me warmly, and we all worked together to decorate the Christmas tree. It was nice, really. But then, on Christmas Eve, I heard giggling coming from the attic. I thought it was my niece playing a prank. I tried to brush it off, but felt a lingering discomfort. The next few days felt odd. I noticed ornaments that were hung differently from how I remembered. Sometimes I caught glimpses of shadows dart away when I turned to look. My heart raced every time I sensed I wasn't alone, even as laughter echoed through the rooms. One day I found a dusty photo album tucked away behind holiday decorations. I flipped through it and saw faces I didn't recognize in the background of family photos. I paused, confused. Who were these smiling people? I felt a chill run through me. The giggling continued every night. It went from playful to unsettling. The laughter echoed back to me almost like a warning. Maybe I was overthinking everything, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Then I began to hear whispers, as if conversations floated through the air. I think I even heard them call my name once. My heart dropped. I wanted to believe it was just my imagination. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just the house settling or drafts moving through it. Yet, deep down, I felt something was off. The weight of secrets hung in every creak of the floorboards, in the chill that swept through the rooms when no one was around. I looked at my family. They seemed to enjoy the holiday spirit, but I felt like an outsider. Did they know something I didn't? One night, as we sat around the fire, the giggling changed. It turned chaotic, bouncing off the walls. I noticed my niece staring at the attic door, her eyes wide. "There are children up there," she said softly. The room fell silent. I turned toward the attic, fear gripping me. I could feel the warmth of the fire, but it wasn't enough to chase away the chill down my spine. The door was cracked open just slightly. Something was waiting. I heard that giggle again, clear as day. Panic washed over me. I fought to convince myself it wasn't real. As my family laughed and joked, I felt only dread. What was up there? What were we really celebrating? I wanted to ask my family about it, but I felt frozen. I could hear them talking, smelling the pine and cinnamon in the air, but I felt trapped in a nightmare. The laughter echoed, blending with a sense of dread I couldn't ignore. The next day, I woke up early, heart still racing from the night before. I needed answers, but where could I find them? I decided to venture into the attic. If there were children up there, I had to see them for myself. I breakfasted with my family, forcing smiles and participating in small talk. My niece didn't seem outside the realm of reality anymore. Her innocent comment lingered in my mind like a dark cloud. After breakfast, I waited until everyone was distracted. I crept towards the attic door, my breath shallow. I hesitated. The laughter rang in my ears, a haunting melody that drew me closer. I pushed the door open wider, revealing the dark staircase leading up. The air felt colder as I stepped inside. Each creak of the stairs echoed, filling the silence with growing tension. I fumbled for the light switch. My fingers brushed against something cold and metallic, and I flipped it on. The light flickered, revealing dusty boxes and cobwebs hanging like ghostly drapes. My heart pounded louder. I scanned the space carefully. That's when I saw it, a wooden toy chest in the far corner, its surface worn and chipped. It was familiar, hauntingly so. I remembered playing with it years ago. As I approached, the laughter returned, softer, almost inviting. But I knew better. I knelt beside the chest, hesitating before opening it. What if I found something that shattered the fragile piece my family had worked to rebuild? Still, I couldn't ignore the urge to know. With a deep breath, I lifted the lid. Inside, I found toys. Old dolls, wooden trains, and a dusty teddy bear. Each item seemed to carry its own weight of nostalgia, but all felt wrong. I picked up a doll, and the atmosphere shifted. The laughter grew louder, echoing, and I felt a chill wrap around me. Suddenly, I wasn't alone anymore. I sensed movement behind me. I spun around, but nothing was there. My heart raced. I dismissed it as nerves and turned back to the chest, but there was a new toy sitting on top. A little music box, pristine and untouched. I hadn't seen it before. Instinctively, my fingers brushed against it, and it began to play a soft, haunting melody. The laughter swelled, but now it felt different, more sinister. I needed to leave. I snapped the chest shut and stood up, shaking. As I moved toward the stairs, I heard whispers again, this time clearer, more urgent. "Help us," they pleaded. It echoed in my mind as I stumbled backwards, crashing into the toy chest. The music box fell to the floor with a soft thud, and the whispering intensified. "Stay with us," I heard distinctly, sending a chill through my entire body. Then I felt something brush against my leg. I looked down, my breath hitching. Shadows formed at the edge of the light, small figures darting toward me. Panic surged and I bolted for the door. I had to get out of there. My family's voices called from below, distant and muffled. I made it to the stairs and rushed down, the chilling whispers fading behind me. But as I reached the bottom, I realized I couldn't tell anyone about what I'd just experienced. They wouldn't believe me. What was happening to me? I stumbled back into the warmth of the living room, trying to shake off the encounter. I couldn't find the words to explain what I felt or saw. Then my niece turned to me, her eyes wide again. "Did you find them?" she asked innocently. My heart sank. Something was very wrong. I couldn't shake my niece's question. "Did you find them?" The words dug deep, twisting in my gut. I forced a smile, hoping to mask my confusion. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head, studying me with a mix of concern and excitement. "The kids, the ones who play with me, they're in the attic, aren't they?" My heart raced again. I needed to distract her. Let's go outside and play instead," I suggested, grasping at anything to change the subject. "It's a nice day." Her face lit up and I led her out, the warmth of the sun a stark contrast to the chill lingering in my bones. My mind replayed my encounter. Shadows, laughter, whispers. I kept glancing back at the house, half expecting the kids to come out after me. We played a few games in the yard, but my thoughts were elsewhere. Who were those children? And why did they want help? The music box's melody haunted me, each note reverberating like a warning. Later I took a moment to sit on the porch steps, hoping some fresh air would clear my head. My mother joined me, sipping her tea. I could sense she wanted to talk, but I didn't know how to bring it up without sounding insane. "Everything all right, dear?" she asked, her brow furrowed with concern. I nodded quickly. "Just a little tired." She watched me, and for a moment I thought she could sense the truth. I forced another smile. Then I caught sight of a flash in the upstairs window. Movement. Instinctively I shot my gaze toward the attic. Was it my imagination, or had I just seen a figure? "What is it?" my mother asked, following my line of sight. "Nothing," I said too quickly. "Just a bird, I think." I stood up, the urge to investigate overwhelming me. "Just come back in when you're ready," she called as I walked inside, my heart pounding as I climbed the stairs, every creak amplifying my anxiety. The attic door loomed ahead, still closed, but the unease gnawed at me. Once at the attic door, I hesitated. Memories of laughter echoed in my head, drowning out my rational thoughts. I gripped the handle and turned it slowly, pushing the door open. The light flickered on again, but something was different. The toys lay scattered, the chest now slightly ajar. My stomach twisted as I stepped inside, scanning for any signs of the children. Just then, a sharp noise disturbed the silence, a giggle, followed by the sound of tiny footsteps. I froze, heart racing as I turned. The shadows began to coalesce, forming shapes that danced just out of reach. "Help us," the voices called again, as if rising from the depths of their hiding place. I felt my resolve slipping away, and then everything went dark. The lights flickered off, plunging the attic into pitch blackness. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, my hands feeling for the door, but it felt strangely far away. The laughter surged, now filled with a combination of playfulness and something darker. "Come play with us," they sang. The shadows swirling around me. My pulse thudded in my ears as I fought against panic. I had to escape, but every direction felt wrong. The whispers grew louder, echoing in a cacophony. Then I felt a cold hand grip my wrist, fingers small but powerful. A chill shot through my body. I turned slowly, terrified of what I'd find. There they were, 3 figures, barely discernible in the darkness but unmistakably children. Their faces were pale, eyes wide and pleading. "Help us." And in that moment I realized this was just the beginning. The children's grip was firm, and I could feel their fear mixing with mine. "What do you want from me?" I managed to whisper, my voice shaking. The tallest child, a girl with tangled hair and wide eyes, took a step closer. "You have to help us get out," she said, her voice faint but clear. "They won't let us go." "Who won't? What do you mean?" Panic surged within me, but curiosity held me in place. The shadows shifted like living things, blurring the edges of my reality. "Help us," another child insisted, the urgency in their voice prickling at the back of my neck. I remembered my niece's innocent question. The other kids, were they a part of this? The attic seemed to throb with a life of its own, and as the images from my memory flickered in and out, I started to piece together the puzzle. "Where are the others?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. The 3 children shared a glance, something unspoken passing between them. "In the walls," the boy murmured, his face crumpling with fear. "They're hiding like us." The thought sent a shiver down my spine. What kind of place was this attic? I took a step back, the cold grip of their hands still on me, anchoring me in this nightmare. "Please," the girl said, "we can't stay here much longer." But I hesitated. The shadows were swirling thicker now, closing in on us. How can I help? I don't even know what to do. Suddenly the lights flickered back on, filling the attic with a dim glow. I could see them more clearly now, their faces pale and gaunt, dressed in what looked like old-fashioned clothes that didn't belong in this time. "This way!" the girl cried, pointing toward the back corner of the attic. My instincts screamed at me to run, but there was something tragic in their eyes that held me back. I could feel my heart in my throat. "Please," she repeated, and I could hear the desperation mingling with fear in her voice. Just as I took a hesitant step toward the corner, I heard a crash below, echoing through the old wooden beams of the house. My mother's voice rang out, muffled but frantic. "Is anyone up there?" My pulse quickened. What if she came up here? What would she find? "Don't leave us," the boy shouted, his grip tightening on my wrist. "We need you." Everything was unraveling. Shadows raged around me, the laughter growing sinister. I had to make a choice. I felt torn between the urge to run and the pull of the children before me. Then I noticed it, a glimmering object at the girl's feet. It looked like a small part of a music box, just like the one I'd heard earlier. When I reached down to touch it, a wave of memories washed over me. The children, the music. Each note beckoned me to dig deeper. "I'll help you," I said, the words tumbling out before I could second-guess myself. "Just tell me how." But before they could respond, I felt a sudden chill. A dark figure loomed in the doorway, silent and imposing. My blood froze as instinct kicked in. I backed away, pulling my phone from my pocket, ready to call for help. "Who's there?" I called out, but my voice felt small against the shadows. "Go back!" The children's voices urged simultaneously. "You'll bring them here!" And there it was, the unmistakable feeling that the real danger was not just in this attic, but waiting for me beyond the door. Then everything went dark again, but this time I could almost feel the weight of eyes watching me, waiting for me to act. The darkness pressed in around me, wrapping around my chest like a cold hand. I stood frozen, my eyes trying to adjust, but nothing broke through the thick veil that surrounded us. I could still hear the children's whispers, urgent and desperate, cutting through the stillness. "Please don't leave us," the girl repeated, her voice trembling in the dark. Then I remembered my phone. I fumbled with it, desperate to pull in the light. The screen illuminated my face for just a moment, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I could see the children just beyond the light, their faces strained and pleading. "Stay close," I said, though I had no idea what lay beyond the edge of the glow. I took a step back toward them, feeling their small hands reach out. They needed me, but fear clawed at my heart. The power of the moment shimmered with tension. Suddenly I heard a clattering sound coming from below. It echoed through the house, a violent crash followed by silence. What was that? My heart raced. "They're coming," the boy hissed, his grip tightening around my arm. I glanced at the dark doorway where the figure had stood. Was it still there? I raised my light again, illuminating the space, but it felt almost futile, like the darkness had teeth. The children stepped closer, and I could see the fear in their eyes grow sharper. "There's a way out," the girl urged, looking over her shoulder nervously. "You need to follow us." "Where?" "In the walls. We can get to the others. You have to trust us." Trust them? I didn't know where we were or what danger lingered in the corners of this attic. But as I looked at their ghostly faces, I realized that their fear matched my own. There was a bond now, a shared urgency lurching my heart forward. "Okay," I said swiftly. "Lead the way." As we moved toward the back corner, a crack in the wall caught my eye. It looked like a small entrance, something only they could fit through. The air felt thick with anticipation. "Is that it?" I asked, pointing. "Yes." The girl nodded eagerly. "Quickly!" But just as she began to inch toward the crack, the lights flickered back on again, bathing the attic in an unsettling glow. My breath caught in my throat when I saw shadows shift against the wall as if alive, writhing. I turned to the children, only to find their faces pale, their eyes wide with terror. "Get in!" the boy shouted, his fear igniting mine as shadows surged around him, nearly consuming him. I lunged toward the crack, but something cold wrapped around my ankle, pulling me backward. I yelped, panic rushing through me. I caught a glimpse of the dark figure from earlier, now looming closer, its face hidden in shadow yet radiating a sense of malevolence. "Help!" I shouted, now fighting against the grip that held me. But the children hesitated, fear rooting them to the spot. "You have to help me." Then I remembered the music box fragment I had touched. With one last desperate shove, I reached for it, hoping it would somehow connect us. The moment my fingers brushed against it, I felt a wave of energy surge through me, raw and powerful. "Follow the music!" I screamed. "It's the key!" The children's eyes widened. Then they surged forward, one after the other, diving toward the crack in the wall. My heart raced as more shadows converged, each moment stretching painfully. I had to make it. That's when I realized the shadows weren't just shadows anymore. They were faces. Children's faces twisted in anguish, reaching out to me as if begging for freedom. Just as I felt myself slip into the darkness, I caught sight of something above the crack, a face that seemed familiar. My heart lurched. "Is that you, Mom?" I breathed, recognition crashing over me. But then, everything went black as the shadows pulled me under. I came to with a start, gasping for air as if I had been submerged in water. My heart pounded in my chest, reverberating in my ears. I blinked rapidly, trying to adjust to the dim lighting around me. I was no longer in the attic, but somewhere else entirely, surrounded by an old wooden room that smelled of mildew and thyme. "Where am I?" I muttered, my voice trembling. The walls were bare, and the floor was made of creaky planks. I pushed myself off the ground, still shivering with the remnants of fear. "Help us!" A faint voice echoed from a corner, sending chills down my spine. I spun around, searching the corners and shadows. The room felt eerily empty, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice gaining strength. A whisper floated through the air, and I could barely make out words. It was a child's voice, soft and pleading. The memory of the children flooded back, their eyes brimming with fear and desperation. Then, like a sudden flash of lightning, realization hit me. I was in the house. But how? Had I been transported? My fingers trembled as I reached for the music box fragment, hoping for guidance, hoping to pull back the veil of confusion. Please. The voice distorted. They're coming. I turned, scanning every corner of the room. The floorboards creaked ahead of me, and I could see a faint light slipping through a crack in the door. I moved toward it, but hesitation gripped me. What if it was a trap? What if I opened the door only to find shadows waiting? I hesitated, but the children's voices tugged at my heart. We have to stay together. The urgency echoed in my mind. 3 heartbeats. My breath caught. I pushed the door open cautiously, the old hinges groaning as the light spilled into the dim room. Who's there? I whispered, half hoping for the children, half dreading what I might find. To my surprise, the hallway was empty, the walls lined with faded photographs of families long gone. I stepped out, each creak of the floor sending tremors of anxiety through me. I could hear it again, the soft whimpering, like a melody I couldn't quite grasp. That's when I stumbled upon an ornate mirror hanging on the wall. It was cracked, yet it reflected something strange behind me. I turned quickly, but found nothing, only the empty hallway. The mirror showed shadows flitting near the edge of my vision, twisting and curling like smoke. They were trying to form shapes, faces swirling into something familiar. Mom, I breathed, but the shadow shifted again. It wasn't her, not entirely. What do you want? It's not just you, the voice echoed, dripping with desperation. You have to help them. Find the others before it's too late. Panic bubbled in my throat. Help who? But there was no response, just silence that felt like impending doom. Then a loud crash echoed somewhere deeper in the house, a noise that shattered the silence and sent shivers down my spine. Something was coming. My instincts kicked in. I ran. As I dashed down the hallway, the shadows pulsed at the edges of my vision, whispering, taunting. I burst through door after door, searching, hoping for answers, and maybe a way to help the trapped souls. Then everything fell silent right before I pushed into another room. I froze at the entrance, my breath hanging heavily in the air. That's when I saw it, a door slightly ajar at the end of the room. Light spilled through, and I could hear the faintest sound of a music box playing. I crept towards it, my heart racing. I had to know what lay behind that door. But as I reached for the handle, another crash echoed through the house. The shadows surged, and I realized I had no idea what I was truly up against. Facing the door, I whispered to myself, this is it. Whatever lies behind may be my only chance. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room beyond the door looked like a scene out of a fairy tale gone wrong. A soft glow enveloped everything, illuminating an antique music box sitting on a small velvet-covered table in the center. The gentle notes floated through the air, calling to me like a siren's song. My eyes widened as I approached, heart pounding. The music swirled around me, tugging at my consciousness. The box was exquisite, with intricate carvings of woodland creatures and dancing children. But deep down, I felt an unsettling chill. Something about it seemed off. Please don't, came the whisper again, echoing like a distant plea. I hesitated, glancing back at the door I had just closed. The subtle tick-tock of the music mixed with the oppressive silence, creating a sense of impending danger. Against my better judgment, I reached out for the music box. My fingers brushed against the cool wood, and instantly the music stopped. The silence was deafening, and I felt as though the world held its breath. That's when I saw it. A shadow move across the wall like a living thing. I whipped around, muscles tensing. Nothing was there, but my gut twisted. I could still hear the heavy silence pounding in my ears, like an unanswered question lingering in the dark. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice breaking. In response, the door behind me creaked open slightly, revealing an expanse of darkness. I strained to listen, heart racing, but all I could hear was the fading echo of the music and my own breathing. I knew I shouldn't go toward it, but the child's voice beckoned me once more. "Help us." It was so faint, almost a whisper lost in the shadows. Panic surged through me, and I turned back to the music box. I had to find a way to understand. Something about the design seemed familiar. A childhood memory flickered in my mind, haunting yet tender. I took a deep breath and opened the box. Strange melodies exploded into the air, swirling around me. The shadows began to dance, twisting in rhythm, and I took an instinctive step back. Then, startlingly, a figure emerged from the shadows, materializing like a photograph developing before my eyes. It was a child, small, with wide eyes filled with sorrow. "You have to stop them," the figure rasped, voice wavering. "They're angry." "Who? Who's angry?" I took a cautious step forward, hoping against hope that this was a sign of clarity, a way out of the chaos that consumed me. But before the child could answer, the room shifted. A swirling mist enveloped the edges of my vision, distorting everything. I felt vertigo seize me, pulling me in every direction. The air thickened, becoming oppressive, and I clutched the music box tightly, as if it were a lifeline. Just as suddenly the mist receded. I stood alone again, the child gone, leaving behind only a whisper of dread. The music faded to silence while outside, a storm began to brew, battering the house with an urgency I couldn't ignore. The door yawned wider, sinister now, revealing a path that felt impossibly dark. A new impulse clawed at me, the sense that I needed to move, to uncover the truth the shadows threatened to keep hidden. I turned toward the door, each footstep heavy with foreboding. If I was going to help them, I had to face whatever lay ahead. With one last glance at the music box, I took the plunge, stepping into the darkness. A chilling realization hit me as the door closed behind me. I wasn't just there to uncover their fate, I was part of it now. The darkness swallowed me whole. Each step felt like it added weight to my already heavy heart, as though I was walking deeper into a void where time and reality blurred. I could barely see anything, but I could feel the walls pressing in on me, cold and suffocating. "What are you doing?" I whispered to myself, my voice trembling. But I didn't turn back. I had a purpose now, whatever that purpose was. The memories of the child's sorrowful eyes filled my mind, driving me to push forward. As I ventured deeper, I began to hear faint sounds. Soft cries mingled with the howling wind from outside. I pressed on, focusing on the sounds, hoping they would lead me to some kind of answer. Then, a flicker of light appeared ahead. I quickened my pace, driven by desperation. The light grew brighter, taking shape in the form of a dimly lit corridor lined with doors. Each door looked weathered and old, as though time had forgotten them entirely. I reached out a hand hesitantly, feeling drawn to the one nearest to me. Suddenly, a heavy thud reverberated through the corridor, making me jump. I stumbled back, heart racing. The sound came from the door across from me. Was something inside? My instincts screamed at me to retreat, but I felt trapped between fear and that deep-seated need to help the child I had seen. I glanced around. The atmosphere grew heavier, and the air hummed with an unsettling energy. My body went on alert, fueled by the knowledge that time was slipping away. I moved toward the door from where I heard the thud, my breaths shallow and rapid. "Is anyone there?" I called out, my voice uncertain. Silence answered me. I pressed my ear against the cool wood, straining to hear anything, even a whisper. Just then, a sudden scrape echoed from behind the door, like nails on a chalkboard. I jerked away, head spinning with dread. I couldn't let fear win, I had to know. I grabbed the door handle and twisted it slowly, cautiously pushing the door open. The room inside was dark, with only a sliver of light spilling from the window. My pulse quickened as I stepped through, feeling an immense pull toward the mystery that lay hidden within. It was messy, a child's bedroom, yet it felt wrong. Toys were scattered, but they appeared old and worn, as if they had been forgotten long ago. And then I saw them, a cluster of small figures huddled in the corner. They shared the same wide-eyed fear I had seen before. My breath caught in my throat. They were children, their faces pale, eyes hollow. "Help us," one of them whispered, echoing the plea I had heard earlier. But before I could react, something moved behind me. I turned quickly, only to see shadows coiling and twisting in the doorway, blocking my escape. My heart raced even faster. There was something malicious about them, a feeling that clawed at my senses, warning me of a threat just beyond my sight. "Get out of here!" I shouted at the shadows, backing up instinctively. And then I heard it, a deep growl, resonating from the darkness. Whatever it was not happy I had come here. My heart pounded in my chest. I had opened the door, but now it felt like I had unleashed something I couldn't control. As the shadows pulsed and flickered, I realized with a sinking dread that I needed to make a choice. Either stay and help the children, despite the terror closing in on me, or turn and run into the dark, leaving them behind. I stood frozen between the two paths, knowing that each moment brought the decision closer. I took a shaky breath, weighing my options. The children were looking at me with desperation, their small faces twisted in fear. I couldn't leave them here. But the growl from the shadows felt like a warning. If I stayed, I risked encountering whatever was lurking in that darkness. If I left, would I abandon them to a fate worse than my own? I took a step toward the children. "I'm coming to get you," I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. They needed reassurance, a guardian in this nightmare. But as my foot touched the floor, the shadows surged forward, creeping closer, tendrils of darkness reaching out like gnarled fingers. The children's eyes widened in terror. "No, don't!" one of them screamed, clutching the arm of another tightly. Just then, a flicker of light caught my attention again, this time from the far end of the room. A small dusty lamp sat atop a rickety nightstand. It seemed like an ancient relic, but it might be my only way to fend off the shadows. I rushed toward it, my heart pounding. The shadows hissed behind me, their growl intensifying. I grabbed the lamp, feeling the cold metal against my fingers. I fumbled for the switch, my breath quickening. If I could just turn it on, maybe I could illuminate the darkness. With trembling hands, I flicked the switch. The bulb sputtered to life, casting a weak glow that barely pierced the shadows. But it was enough. The growl faltered, and the shadows recoiled slightly. "Come on," I urged the children, my voice rising over the whispers of the darkness. "We have to move. Now!" They scrambled to their feet, their eyes wide with hope. I ushered them toward the doorway, keeping the lamp raised high. As we reached the threshold, I heard a low, guttural growl nearby. The shadows surged, pushing forward as if they were alive, hungry for the warmth of our bodies. I had no choice. I turned, forcing the children to follow me without looking back. We stumbled out of the room and into the corridor, the faint light from the lamp casting long, ominous shadows that danced on the walls. As we ran, I felt a cold breath against my neck. The presence was right behind us. I pushed myself to sprint faster, pulling the children along as we rounded a corner. I could hear the sound of scratching, like claws dragging against wood, echoing through the hall. "Where do we go?" one of the children cried, glancing back in fear. "I don't know." Panic surged through me as we came to a series of closed doors. My eyes darted, searching for any hint of an escape. Each door looked the same, sturdy, locked, and lifeless. In a moment of instinct, I chose the door on my left. Throwing my shoulder against it, I charged forward, praying it would lead us somewhere safe. The door swung open violently, and I stumbled into a room that was both familiar and alien. Then I saw it, a collection of photographs covering the walls. Images of families gathered for Christmas, smiling faces frozen in time. But the last frame made my blood run cold. A child's face. Exactly like the faces of the children with me. "Who are you?" I gasped, spinning to face them, heart racing. The answer seemed to hang in the air, thick with dread. The three children exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from fear to understanding. "We were here once," the girl finally spoke, her voice a thread of clarity in the chaos. Before they took us." "Took you?" I stammered, trying to pour meaning into her words. "Who took you? Who are they?" The shadows flickered around us, and the whispers grew louder, echoing their despair. "They're angry," the boy said, his eyes wide. "Angry that we tried to escape." "Escape? You mean from the shadows?" I felt my heart clench. The dark figure's presence loomed heavy around me, my memories of the attic mixing with this new confusion. How were they mixed in this pain? We hid from them, the girl replied softly, taking a small step closer, her frailty stark against the creeping shadows. We didn't listen when they told us to stay quiet. They're the ones who want to keep us. We mustn't let you feel that way. Feel what? I asked, hoping for clarity, a way to navigate this terror. But darkness swallowed her words. The shadows surged forward, trying to defend their territory, their anger palpable. Gripping the lamp with all my strength, I flicked it back on. The glow pushed them back momentarily, but their growls morphed into a chilling laughter that danced around us. Find the others, the girl urged, her face a mask of determination that belied the fear swirling behind her eyes. You have to, before they come for us again. Before I could respond, a dark mist billowed from the edges of the room, spilling into the tight space like ink dropped in water. You don't belong here, a voice boomed, filled with suffocating rage. You've seen too much, and you'll pay for it. Run! I shouted, turning back toward the corridor where we'd entered. The children scrambled with me, the sound of relentless footsteps echoing ever closer. We dashed through the doorway, but as we entered, I felt the shadows slither back toward me, their once hesitant advance now a hungry push. We wound through the dim, twisting halls, the lamp flickering between bursts of dark and light. I could sense the children's presence at my side but feared for their safety. I couldn't let them fall back to the shadows. Stick together, I called, but my voice felt small against the prowling darkness. Suddenly, ahead of us, I spotted a shimmering outline of a door, the only one that remained undisturbed, adorned with what looked like ornate carvings of the children I had seen in the attic. My heart raced. If this was their way out, then I had to open it. Bursting through the doorway, I stopped as we entered. A bright room illuminated by golden light, unlike anything else in this house. It felt warm, inviting even, but the warmth was deceiving. As we stepped inside, shadows flickered at the periphery, whispering ominously. Tension filled the air, making it hard to breathe. There, the girl gasped, pointing to an array of strings and soft melodies emanating from the corner. There sat a magnificent music box, its lid open, revealing a beautiful but hauntingly grotesque design of the children trapped within its grooves. Don't let it play, the boy warned, eerily calm. That's how they keep us. My heart raced again. How do I stop it? Please, help us, they echoed in unison, their eyes intent on mine, swirling with desperation. I hesitated, gazing into the depths of the music box. Was there a way to reverse the curse woven into its melody? I could see the glimmers on the edges, memories of laughter trapped eternally within. I took a step toward it, feeling the children cling to my sides. Suddenly, a booming sound erupted through the room. The dark figure swung wide the door behind us, revealing swirling shadows that enveloped the light. You dare challenge me? The voice echoed, heavy with menace. Together! I shouted, feeling the resolve sweep over us as I instinctively brought the lamp toward the music box. The warmth of its light seemed to clash against the encroaching darkness. With a swift motion, I plunged the lamp into the open box. The shadows recoiled. But as the light touched the music, a sharp melody burst forth. The laughter transformed into cries for help, pure and raw. Make it stop! The children shouted, clutching my arms. I pressed harder, focusing on the flickering light merging into the music as it twisted and contorted around us. There was a heartbeat to it, a life that fought back against the shadows. And then, clarity struck. I closed my eyes, flooding the space with the resonance of unyielding hope, a fierce light that surfaced deep within me. We won't let you take them, I shouted into the swirling mists. We will free them. The box erupted in a cacophony of sound as the shadows writhed, contrasting wildly against the spotlight of our determination. I felt the children's grips tighten, anchoring me to this reality. With one final desperate push, I threw the lamp's light inside, and it exploded outward, illuminating the entirety of the room and obliterating the darkness. The shadows screamed, a wretched, anguished wail before evaporating into mist. And then, silence. Calm settled over us. I opened my eyes to see the music box now still, the children's faces radiant with a strange kind of relief. "You did it," the girl whispered, her wide eyes sparkling. "You helped us." But even amid the faint echoes of laughter fading, I felt a tug of unease within my chest. They were free, yes, but they were still here, rooted in this place, a haunting reminder that some shadows never truly dissipate. As the once stifling atmosphere eased, I turned toward the door, knowing I was still here, standing with unanswered questions lining my heart. What lay ahead for them, and what would linger in memories? I stepped back, glancing once more into the room, a bittersweet conclusion shrouding clarity within the shadows. An uncertainty lingered in my mind as my body propelled towards the door into the unknown, leaving them behind and embracing an ambiguous future. The children smiled at me, each shimmering like a fleeting memory as sunlight poured in from the street, offering me a way forward. But I wondered, even then, if darkness was a choice or a necessity. The shadows still whispered as I walked out, leaving behind a sense of lingering dread mingled with hope, as the question of what lies beyond remained unanswered. Days and months passed after that night, and though I moved forward, I never truly left. I think about the children sometimes. Was it all real? Part of me believes it was. The house still stands, but I've never returned. Perhaps some doors are better left closed. The music box is untouched while shadows dance just out of sight.